Well, welcome back. Imagine being under the weight of crippling student loan debt. Many of us can. And one Georgia man is trying to trade his way out of it. I caught up with Jake Croft, who came up with an original idea based on something he saw someone else do. Let's take a listen.
Well, welcome back. I have Jake Croft here. And Jake, you have a pretty interesting story. You're doing something that I think a lot of people wish they could do or maybe have thought about doing, but aren't sure how to get started. And you're making yourself a master tradesman to get out of student loan debt. Can you tell me a little bit about your story and how you got started with this?
Yeah, absolutely. To get out of student loan debt, which I have a considerable amount of, I went to college to become a chiropractor, and I graduated in December of 2019 and opened my practice in February of 2020, which was 2 weeks before COVID. And chiropractic's putting your hands on people, right? Those first 6 to 8 months were pretty wild. So I had to pivot, and I went into teaching, and I love teaching, but teaching is unlikely to ever get me out of this amount of student loan debt, which is just over $219,000. So I was trying to think of what are the ways I could approach this. And I remember hearing and reading about the story of Kyle McDonald, who traded up from a red paperclip all the way to a house in 2005. And I was like, man, I wonder if I could do this. Obviously not for a house, but possibly to be able to pay off the student loans at the end of it. So I started a project on TikTok that I just call the Trading for Freedom project. My little intro, almost every video, is trading for freedom from student loan debt for the nobility of my future and that of my family. And it has garnered a little bit of an audience.
I can imagine a lot of people relate to the idea of wanting to be free from debt, right? And
Yeah.
wanting to be free from that hanging over them. Can you explain? You were inspired by Kyle McDonald, who traded his way up, which his story is unique in of itself. Can you tell me how you overcame that first fear? What did you first trade, and how did you initially get started?
Yeah. So the past 5 years that I've been weighed down, um, almost debilitatingly so, by this amount of debt, I've found myself not wanting to speak about it or talk about it or think about it, out of sight, out of mind. And so I figured that if I was ever going to be successful in attempting to rid myself of it, I had to be willing to just kind of talk about it freely and talk about it, I think, in a public light. So I created a TikTok account for it, and I just started speaking. There's stigmas around student loan debt and debt in general, but I was just completely open, or as open as I could be. And I let, at that point, no one, because no one was following the project, I let no one know how much debt I was in and then what I was trying to do. The item that I started with was just a used massage gun that I had, probably worth around $150. And in the beginning, I did attempt to go to websites like eBay and OfferUp and Facebook Marketplace and things like that, but none of those had a bartering or trading option. I was forced to sell the item, which goes against the principle of the project, right? So all of my trades so far have come organically from TikTok. Believe it or not, from the app. I was creating these videos, talking about what I'm trying to do, talking about what the current trade is. And I had people message me, say, hey, I'll trade you this for that, or I'll trade you that for this. And that's how it started.
Incredible. So you started with a massage gun.
Mhm.
What did you trade it for, and what have you traded up to now?
Yeah, absolutely. So started with that used massage gun. I traded that for an iPad. I traded the iPad for a Versace watch. And now I have traded the Versace watch for a complete wedding venue package at the Hilltop Memory Maker venue in Coral, Michigan, actually. Far away from Georgia, but that's where we're at.
And Jake, I got a little ahead of myself because I do want to let people know you're actually from Georgia. You're
Yes.
from South Georgia. So can you tell me a little bit about where you're from here in our state?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm from Valdosta, which is yeah, small, or not really small anymore. Down right, almost close to the Florida line, just a few miles from the Florida line. And I was born and raised here. I went to undergrad at Valdosta State University, and then went off for Cairo College and came right back. So this is home for me.
Incredible to think that you have traded something all the way up to something in Michigan,
Yeah.
and now you're trying to get to the next step. So, what are you looking to trade for next? You say you have like a wedding package in Michigan that you're trying to negotiate into the next thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So whenever I have someone message me and wanting to propose a trade or asking, the question I get a lot is, what are you trying to trade for? My answer is always, just because of what the project is, anything of higher value.
Mm.
And that may sound strange. I've had a couple of people push back on that. That may sound strange for the other person that's trading, but I always think that beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Someone may have something sitting in the corner of their closet that they don't care about that's worth $20,000, and then there's something else that's worth $10,000 that they really want. They'd be willing to trade the thing they don't care about, even if it has a higher ticket value. So I always just say something of higher value. Now, ideally, right now, with it being in Michigan, something small enough to ship would be beautiful, because I've had people offer me a boat, but it's 25 hours away one way, and that's just not something that I can go get right now. But to answer your original question, anything of higher value than that package, which is $6,450 right now.
That makes sense. I do think about often how nice would it be if we were able to maybe barter and trade a little bit more, because so often we may have something sitting in the back of our closet or, our shed. We're not using that trimmer anymore. We're not using that lawnmower anymore. Maybe
Yeah.
we like to have something else, and you never know what value exists in something, but for someone else, if it doesn't hold value for you. So, what are the next steps? I know that you are trying to you're trying to get to that next trade, and then you're also looking at ultimately getting yourself out of that student loan debt. I guess I'm more thinking about just what has been the response to this on social media. Do you feel like other people are saying, "Oh, I'm going to go start doing this myself now"? Do you feel like you've inspired other people to think a little differently about trading?
I hope so, and just to be completely transparent with you, the trading for me started with this project.
Yeah.
But I do think that the concept of trade, like you mentioned, the concept of trading and bartering, I think should be brought back. I think it's a really neat concept. If you ever get the itch to have something new, instead of going and buying it, maybe see if there's something that you have that someone else might have a desire for, and you could meet up and trade the two. I've got a pretty strong positive response on social media. Honestly, it's a story. It's a story that people want to follow. When I see things like this, when I see someone working towards a goal that's a long ways away, I like to kind of tag on and follow and see how they're doing and see what it ends up with. And this is I think one of those stories that people kind of want to follow along with. So I've had a pretty strong positive response to it. I've had a lot of people want to participate and propose trades and stuff. And so I'm very grateful for the audience. And yes, ultimately the goal is to trade up to something. I know that $219,000 is a long way away, but trade up to something of value that I could sell and use to pay off those loans for sure.
It's amazing. I think definitely the power of social media to unite people and to find new things and find opportunities is incredible. So I have no doubt you'll be well on your way. Anything else you want to share that I haven't asked you yet?
I'll make one comment. I will make one comment. I was not able to, and it's in response to something you said earlier. You said you wish that we could more easily trade and barter with people. I did not know about this, what I'm about to tell you, until a couple of weeks ago. I wish that I had known about it at the beginning of the project. It's not wedding venues are not common things to be traded, so it's not working perfectly for that. But I told you that Facebook Marketplace and eBay and OfferUp and all those places, those online marketplaces, didn't have a bartering or trading option. A couple of weeks ago, I found out about an app called Zaya, and it is exclusively trading. It is like an online marketplace. I know they're really small. I think they're in a couple of cities right now, like Denver and Miami. But it is an online marketplace that is exclusively for bartering and trading. There's no money involved. Again, I wish I had known about it at the beginning, but that might be,
Yeah.
if people are interested in the concept of trading, might be something that they can check out. And just as much as this project for me is about trading, it's also about just opening up the opportunity for people to more freely discuss debt, specifically student loan debt. In our time right now, there's so many people that are, again, debilitatingly affected by it, including myself. So
Yeah.
allowing that to be a commonplace thing, at least in my conversations on that account, I think is important to me.
Yeah, you do touch on something that I think a lot of us relate to, which is there is a lot of stigma around money and just this idea of debt, right? And how, there's different types of debt, and the type of debt you take on when you go to school, you take on because you hope it's going to benefit you down the line. You think that, hey, right, this investment and this debt I'm taking on is ultimately going to pay off for me. I will be able to pay it off with the job I'm taking or whatever's happening. But few of us could predict a global pandemic. You
Mhm.
know, few of us could predict life-shaping seismic events that have happened to our world really in just like the past 5 years. And
Right.
so when you boil all of that down, you know, life throws curveballs your way and it throws punches. And, you know, it's how do we respond to this? How do we get back up and try to be creative, try to find new ways, being resourceful, problem solving. And you found the power of TikTok to try to help
Yeah.
you do that. So, Jake, it's been great talking with you. I wish
Yeah.
you all the
Absolutely.
success in your ventures.
Thank
Best
you.
of luck to you and your family. Thanks for joining us, and I'm sure we'll see you again